let's get into a little bit of a brighter topic here. I briefly mentioned in the opening segment that I wanted to talk about some video games and some other things that I've been playing. And very fortunate right around the Christmas time period that Red Dead Redemption 2 was finally in my hands for the first time. I'm not just talking about another Rockstar gem, but in the sense of a game that I've never played before, and in the sense of the way things work. You have, the Xbox One X, the PS4, the PC, whatever you play on. Um, Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PlayStation 4. I get the physical copy for Christmas. It's 2 discs, and I think, holy shnikes. I don't know if I have 105 gigs left on the hard drive to be able to install this baby, and that's one of the first things you think about. And an hour and a half install process later, you get the sense of why the game is so massive. So let me talk about a couple things. Just the sheer landscape and the draw distance of being able to be out in a time period of the 1890s, being able to ride a horse, being able to go anywhere, being able to skin any animal, use it for a resource, do missions. It is just absolutely insane everything that you can do in that game. The online experience is still in beta. I believe it launched a few weeks ago anyway. It's still in beta, but it allows you to play 7 or 8 different missions that once you complete, you're able to challenge them again at any given time. But the online experience is pretty cool. Because what it is, you go out there in the Wild West, you create a character. Mine kind of ends up looking like Joel from Last of Us with a growth, with a massive growing beard and everything else like that. There's a limited customization about what you can make as far as a character and the representations that you can do online. But pretty much every single kind of thought pattern, process, leveling, it's more of a grind in the way that you do it from the single player, but you can go out there and do some missions. You can play some series playlists like GTA, but you set up in certain missions in Red Dead, and you can have a lot of fun with it. Just the free roaming experience allows you to do a lot of the same things that you do in the single player, and it's absolutely incredible there. What I've gone through and some of my frustrations in with the single player is when you're not, or the multiplayer, is when you're not doing some of the missions, the people, when you're in towns especially, can go out there and just kill you, try to shoot your horse, make you hungry, make you tired, and have you get more resources over and over again. I think as you go along, Red Dead Redemption 2 needs to include a passive mode in the game that allows you to, while you're in a mission or while you're in a room with somebody like that, while you're traversing around, that there is some kind of passive mode. So if you don't want to get shot at and you don't want to have things happen to you, you don't want to engage in PvP, that you don't have to. And that would be good on Rockstar's part. As far as the single player and the story aspect, I don't know where to begin. Because whether it is the character actor, and I don't know the character actors that play, whether it is Arthur Morgan or Dutch, or any of the ones that you go around or you will introduce. Right now I'm between, I think, Chapter 3 and close to 40%, so I still got a long way to go. I believe there's 7 chapters and an epilogue, but the voice acting is absolutely phenomenal, and I feel like every single line was painstakingly said over and over again to draw the absolute emphasis and the point home. The storytelling is top notch. You're traversing from place to place between the 1890s. You kind of feel like you're in that time period where you're hoping you can have, and you hope that you feel right now that you don't take for granted having electricity and indoor plumbing. But it's one of those things that you feel as you move from place to place, and I already get the sense of that you know what's coming on the horizon. And kind of, even not playing the first Red Dead myself, kind of feel like what I could be getting into, that you absolutely can empathize with every single character. And it feels like you're truly living a story for the first time, and you don't ever want to leave that world. Because I want to talk about one thing in specific that will draw a lot of people away from this game, that I absolutely love, and a lot of people feel that it could be outdated for Rockstar, is the pacing. When you're doing something in this game, You have to do it very methodically. There's animations for everything, whether it's picking up canned vegetables, whether it's eating, whether it's brushing or feeding your horse, whether it's going out and riding, you're traversing through horse through your main transportation. It's going to take you a long while to get to places until you finally unlock the fast travel or pay certain money for train tickets and things like that. You're on a journey, and this game absolutely encourages you to take it slow, take in the sights, and enjoy everything. And that pacing and that aspect of not getting immediate gratification is going to turn a lot of people off. However, I feel in my experience as I've gone throughout this, it's something that absolutely has drawn me into the game even more. Not only just with the incredible storytelling and all of that, I think the pacing and everything else, everything I do, everything that Rockstar has set up, it actually feels like it means something to me and it matters. And in more than any game I've ever played before. And I know the two Game of the Year codependents for me would be God of War and Red Dead 2, hands down in 2018. And it's a shame that Red Dead didn't get more of those nominations or work on certain people's list, so to speak, which I think is blasphemous. But nothing has ever drawn me in more than Red Dead 2. And it's an absolute testament because I get Rockstar, they do their games, they do it to the best of their ability, and they do it until the game is absolutely ready to be released. GTA 5 was an absolute achievement, and it was enough to get remade over and over again so it can be replayed on these new generations of consoles, soon to be old going into PS5, the new Xbox, and all of that. But Red Dead is such an outstanding achievement so far, even just 40% in. It's a game that's got to be played. And it's a game that even if you have some qualms about the pacing and everything else, you suck it up and you play it and you get into that experiences. And if you don't get captured into it, and I get that a game's not always going to be for everybody, but something's got to be wrong with you if you don't enjoy that style of game or it doesn't end up catching you. You just don't have that passion for video games in general, I would feel like. I think that if you don't like Red Dead 2, if you don't like the God of War reboot, something's generally wrong with you. And it's okay. You don't have to. It's a difference of opinion. I get all that. But this game is absolutely incredible. It's some of the nastiest stuff I've ever seen when it comes to a game of the level of detail and just the absolute fun. And it just feels like everything you do matters. It's incredibly enjoyable. The gameplay, the gunplay, and the mechanics of it work pretty simple. It's nice to be able to have a game that has that sheer landscape, and at times, as I mentioned in GTA 5, especially when you're playing in the online aspect of it, pretty difficult to posse up with your friends to go ahead and do missions. The online aspect of it's pretty easy. You go in, you jump in, you play the game, you make a room, you send an invite, and there you are. You're doing missions, no problem, no ifs, ands, or buts. The gunplay and the mechanics of it are pretty nice. You get your Deadeye, you can slow it down with the two triggers on the controller, whether it be L3, R3, and within the Xbox One X, PS4. It does a little bit of slowdown. You get the aim, you point up a little bit, you get the headshot, and you pull, and that's how you go. You just move and on to the next one. And it feels pretty good, whether it's on horseback or anything else you do. Everything else feels comfortable, and it feels totally responsive, and it's nice. It's very enjoyable. You do have to clean your guns. You do have to maintain your ammunition. When you're looting somebody, when you get $1, $2.50, you feel like a king because you're not going to get a lot of money very fast. Some of the stuff that you see in that game is going to be a little bit questionable because don't forget, you're in along the lines of not having women's suffrage yet. You're in along the lines of, just shortly after the Civil War, just shortly between some of the things that you know that are in that time period that could be uncomfortable to talk about. Again, Rockstar is not shying away from some of those certain instances, and they're not always there in full forbearance, but they're there, and those assimilations of what's there can be uncomfortable, and what some of those assimilations of what are there can be downright hilarious for that time period. You think how ass backwards people feel and people think at that time period. And the game is just exceptional. I don't know what else to say about it. As far as the missions, you're going to be doing the old standard, and I think as I go along with it and the character building and the just comfortability you get with some of the story, and you hope with the twists and turns as you want to, delve into the characters' personalities. I think some of the most fun that I have, not only just in the free roaming experience, is when you're going up and you're getting a mission set up with some of your characters, whether it would be Dutch or Hosea or Lenny or Arthur Morgan, the main character, the main protagonist, going ahead and talking with some of the other characters. It's nice when you go ahead and you just go on mission on horseback, you get everything set up, you talk in the back and forth. It makes the back and forth going from place to place very enjoyable because you get in that small period of time more nuance in the characters that you're going to be talking with and dealing with. And I feel the relationships and the growth that you get from characters, and I know some bad stuff's going to be on the horizon, and maybe even shedding a tear or two, just like a lot of you know from the ending of the first Red Dead. I know I haven't played that game. I would love to see a remaster or something like that in the first Red Dead, but I know the way the story, and I get a feeling of the way it might be going, and the way that I could be shedding a few tears at the end of it here. But the core mechanics of what the game is, the relationships, the storytelling, the pacing might not all be for everybody, but it's some of the best I've ever seen. And not only just top-notch graphics and gameplay that you come to expect, but this game was absolutely incredible. And being able to see how a game in a physical copy on a Blu-ray could be 2 discs can't be understated, because you can see as soon as you play it for the first time, I get it, I understand it, I need to play this and take my time with it because it's going to be something I'm going to remember for a long, long time. And something else I remember for a long, long time here is the release of Resident Evil 2. 1998 was a long time ago. Now we're in the depths of 2019. It's been almost 21 years now since the remake for Resident Evil 2. It's been on the horizon, and Capcom and the studio of over 100 developers at one time want to call Resident Evil 2 more of a reimagining. So what they did was they released not only the gameplay video and the trailers and things like that I want to try to stay away from, but as the game is set to come out within the next 2 weeks on the second Friday, let's see what that date will be. That will be January 25th here. That there's a few things that I noticed between this 30-minute one-shot demo. Whether you're playing it on the PC, the PlayStation 4, or the Xbox One, the Xbox One X, whatever reiteration that you're using, yes, you can play the demo multiple times as long as you make a new account. It doesn't have to be affiliated with Xbox Live, or PlayStation Network. You can make one and play it over and over again if you choose. But what I've noticed in this demo, some of the changes that have been made, there is no longer a zapping system between Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield. There is no Game A, there is no Game B. It's more along the lines of these guys will inevitably meet up along the lines in their situation, and the story will be as it's going to be. And Capcom had recently stated that the way that this is going to be is to streamline the experience more and give you more of a base campaign and feel good about the way everything is going to be. And so far as playing through this 30-minute demo, finishing it between 26 minutes, dying once, you'll get the video gameplay as I'm going to get that uploaded as well. I got some NHL highlights as well from starting a new club in the new year and being able to play and getting all that stuff situated. I'll talk about that too. You feel pretty good about where Resident Evil is at. And whether or not you were a total fan of Resident Evil 4, I know a lot of people loved it, but after that, between 5 and 6, it had gone in a direction that people knew it would go after 4, and not everybody is happy with. There is no fixed camera angle, so it's going to be over the shoulder like RE4, but the reworking of the way the gameplay is set up, it's not shoot everything, move on to the next area like it was in 4, 5, and 6. You still get the over-the-shoulder horror aspect of it, that the original Resident Evils 1, 2, and 3 were known for. But now you get the over-the-shoulder aspect of it in the sense of you have other monsters coming in behind you that you don't see. You get that sense of fear. The level of graphics and detail in this game is absolutely outstanding. As much as I had said that about Red Dead, as much as I look into this, Resident Evil 2 was absolutely horrifying. And this is coming from somebody that is well versed in these games and well versed into the term of Silent Hill from the Japanese developers between 1, 2, and 3 when those games back then were truly scary. Maybe there's some stuff in Resident Evil 2 within this demo that are going to be nothing more than jump scares, but the graphics and level of detail turn the experience into something horrifying and unnerving in a very good way, and still allows you to have that sense of fear and being able to not being able to shoot through every enemy and move on to the next area. And that's what I feel like the newer games were getting to, and I wanted to get back to the old aspect of it. Yes, I can live without the fixed camera angles, but I wanted to finally have a game that was going to take me back to the area and times of where I don't get a chance to shoot everything and always feel comfortable. And I really feel like, even though it was a very short time within this reimagining in this one-shot demo, that the atmosphere was absolutely spot on. The zombies, I felt like, were more bullet sponges than before. Not only with the limited bullets that you have, but you really need to make a freaking decision as far as getting in and out and figuring out what enemies you need to take out before you move on to the next area. I really get that feeling of it as I played throughout the short demo. If you do get bit by a zombie, you do have the option sometimes when it appears of using the combat knife that you surely get, and what the Resident Evil staple is known for, being able to stab while on the ground. But you can use the combat knife to stab into a zombie, but you're only able to get it back on the return if you kill a zombie or you end up finding another one. So that was very interesting. The level of difficulty in the demo I found was pretty easy. I did die at the very beginning because I got a little disoriented as far as where it was. Yes, kind of embarrassing. My first time through it all, though, I can understand it. But the map and the touchpad or whatever it is, the button on the Xbox, I don't have an Xbox One or an Xbox One X, but you kind of use that touchpad on PS4 to access a map that gives you the room layouts and feel comfortable so you can get to those dark corridors knowing more where you're at. It was very helpful, and I found myself using the map a lot more than I would ever use it in any other game. So I feel like that's very nice addition. Not only just having a map, but having a map that you feel like is going to actually be useful to you, knowing where you've gone and where you plan to go. The difficulty of the game, as they've talked about, and I feel is going to be very interesting, is going to be dynamic. So if you do very poorly, the game will lower itself in difficulty. But if you start doing very well, if you start having tons of bullets, good item inventory, you manage everything well, the game is going to get harder. That makes it interesting for me to figure out what is going to happen in that game. But overall, I was left very impressed. And between not only just waiting for the game for about 21 years, playing it between 9 or 10, I know Resident Evil 2 is one of the most beloved titles in this series, but I was left very impressed. And I know a lot of people will talk about Kingdom Hearts and the unrelenting expectations that people will have about it when it releases soon. But I know that there's a lot of Resident Evil super fans, and I know you can't please everybody, but I feel like a lot of them, including myself, were left very impressed and wanting to play more. And it's a definite must-buy for a survival horror fan, just even playing this demo. Feel very comfortable about what they've done with it, and I'm glad to have this finally in the hands soon, and I will definitely give you guys a full review as we go along. Wanted to mention, too, very briefly, as we're going to end here in the show, and in the video games as well. Finally, and this wasn't something I wanted to do, but I talked about the resolution last year of having to just, stop playing with one of the guys that I used to play with in the old NHL clubs because it wasn't working out anymore. Not because of the failure to adapt. I could deal with that not winning as many games, but it was one of those things that it was just, the attitude and everything else. and just the complete lack of, how do I want to put it, willingness to try to change and get things better and still leave on the same attitude to piss other club members off and all that. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I mentioned about that last year, and I still had stuck to my guns. From time to time, maybe I would talk to him once a week. Maybe we would play stuff, you know, offline or things like that, online versus, but never in club. But it was never anything that I would want to deal with ever again, and I've stuck to my guns with that. But finally, now that NHL 19 was out, now that the servers actually worked by the end of December going into January, I told Nick, I said, let's make a new club. And now that the servers actually work, let's see what we can do. And needless to say, great start, 33-1-1. I'll have some gameplay highlights uploaded as well. Obviously, I don't have everything. This is some of the more recent games that we've played, and this is even with the last 3 games where I couldn't even score at all. We were shooting well above our percentages. He's about 17.5. I'm almost at 16. He's got about 25 more points than I do and counting. Our plus minus is almost in the 80s already within 36 games played. Mind you, this is just me and him. Twos, probably playing against other twos for the most part, an occasional 3. It's just computer defensemen, computer goalies, stuff like that. No human goalies, no way to boost stats and things like that. Very, very happy with a 33-1-1 start, and it's something that I knew that we could do. I know the game is different in terms of the puck bounces. It's not like NHL 12 going back in the day when you can completely dominate the game, put points on face-offs, having more of a World of Warcraft style in the EA Sports Hockey League, being able to customize your player with points anywhere you want it. But it does give me a little bit of a sense of satisfaction, and probably a satisfaction for both of us knowing that we can still play the game at a very high level. And when you have accountability, you can also have a lot of fun. We can just bullshit and have a good time on top of that while playing at a high level. And I know the losses will come soon, just like the Michigan Wolverines basketball team and their record start. I know the losses are going to come soon, but right now, being able to play the way that we want to play and still have a good time and not try to do too much, it feels really great. And I'm glad that this stuff is finally working, because I'll be honest with you, whether it comes to I don't play a lot of FIFA, I didn't play a lot of Madden, but when it comes to NBA 2K and NHL and some of these other sports games, the stuff on this next gen, I think a lot of you will agree, has not been that great. But the fact that now I can sit here and actually get some enjoyment out of it feels pretty damn good, considering it's a series that I've played for a long time, since 10 and upwards, and it's been well documented. The 27 games without a goal, starting from NHL 10 and all of that, to transitioning into someone that can be pretty well rounded. It feels good knowing that we can still play the game at a high level, even with the divisions now on the aspect and having to play harder teams from time to time. And I'm pretty happy about that. This is going to be John Ott signing off, and it's good to talk to you once again. I know Sports in the D, Facebook.com/Tabugo, and Twitter @JohnReinott. Hopefully I'll try to do some of this stuff more. Maybe as we get along the lines of going into the sports within the next couple months, try to get into a once a week show. I got that 9 to 5, so it makes it pretty difficult to stay up late and do all of that. But it feels good to get some things off my chest, and good to honestly get a chance to talk to all of you out there again. So really, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thanks. I want to say I hope that everything is going great for all of you, and I really, truly mean it. And I hope that 2019 and the years beyond can be good for all of you, because you just got to face it, like I said. Be happy with yourself and what you're doing, and come to grips with what actually works. When you have unrealistic expectations and things you just can't live up to, it makes you crazy. Crazy can make you crazy. So just figure out what you're doing, be comfortable in your own skin, and I think, 2019 can be just fine for you. I know there's going to be stuff on the horizon, obviously you can't control, but be the best you can be. I know that's cheesy, but I think the way that you do that is just being comfortable in your own skin. Have a good one, guys. Talk to you soon.